in your first book, you identified the 3 different versions we have of ourselves. And I love frameworks like this because they are
Yes.
so helpful in allowing us to locate which version of ourselves are we being right now. And
Yeah.
when you know which version you're being of the 3, you now have the ability to choose whether or not you're going to stay in that version or you're going to swing toward the authentic you. So, can you walk us through what are the 3 versions of ourselves? And then we're going to take them one at a time.
Got it. So it's called the Three Selves Framework. And I developed this framework based on my work and research because I was finding that people were in situations in the workplace and relationships where the surface level message was, be you. Of course, I want you to be authentic. Of course, I want you to bring your whole true self to this experience. But in the very next breath, it would be like, through the behavior, just kidding, don't actually be you. So it felt very complicated and confusing. It's how do I show up? So that's what led me to develop the model. We all have the 3 selves, and I'll take us quickly through the 3 selves and then we can dig deeper into each of them.
Great.
So the most important self of all is what I call the authentic self. Your authentic self is a self where if there were no negative consequences for your actions, this is how you would show up. This is how you would speak. This is how you would dress. These are the words you'd use. This is where the content you'd share. It's where you draw a line, boundaries, yes, no, who you would love. It's the good, the bad, and the ugly of who we are. But because it's the truest reflection of our core self, it feels the best to do. So that's the authentic self. Resonating?
I love that. And I love the definition, if there were no consequences. How would you
Yes.
show up if there were no consequences? You're not getting arrested. You're not losing friends. You're not going to be embarrassed or ashamed by what you do. You
Yes.
just get to do you, and there are no consequences. That is very clear. What's the
Okay.
second version of ourselves?
Okay, so I'm going to go to the other side of the continuum, which is the third self, which is the performing self. So I've talked a lot today with you about the performing self. The performing self is the self that feels like we don't have a choice but to change who we are, mask aspects of our identity, cloak, hide, in order to shield from bias and judgment. It feels exhausting, humiliating, disrespectful to do, but we feel like if I don't change my accent or anglicize the pronunciation of my name or hide my experiences with anxiety, depression, or not talk about being transgender or whatever it is that we feel judged about or we feel ashamed of, we feel like we need to push it down. And of course, it feels completely disempowering and exhausting. And of course, the message coming out of today is to really take a step back and think about around whom are you performing? Like, why is that happening? What are the judgments coming your way? And most importantly, scripting, self-coaching, body-based, settle myself for those situations so we can push out of it. But that's the performing self, which I'm guessing, Mel, resonates given what we've talked about.
Well, I think that every single one of us became the performing self in middle school, and we've been
Yes.
doing it ever since.
100%.
And
Yes.
I would say until recently, I was the performing self in just about every aspect of my life.
Yeah.
The dutiful daughter, the hard work, like whatever hat I thought I was supposed, because I felt like everything had a consequence. Everything
Yes.
was high stakes. So everything
Exactly.
required me to anticipate what I needed to do and to
Yeah.
perform as such in order to succeed or be accepted
Exactly.
or get ahead or whatever. And so I think, I would imagine based on your research, is that where most of us spend the most of our time?
Absolutely. And for those of us who have come from cultural communities that have heightened judgment and bias coming our way, we actually spend extensive time there. We spend most of our time there, and this is the problem. But it's the adapted self, the self that lives in the middle, that we've never explored before in this way, and is a really powerful self, because when we spend time with it, what we realize is, wow, number one, I have more agency in my life than I thought I did. And when I say agency, it's just a fancy way, Mel, of saying choice and control over how I behave. So agency, choice, and control over how I behave. I have more of it than I thought I did. Number two, oh, look at that. I'm behaving more authentically than I thought I was. And which in and of itself can be so empowering, because when we realize, wow, I'm already doing this, I can do more of it. That can be very liberating. And then the third thing is that it can also be a really safe place to stay in moments and situations where we don't feel safe to be our full authentic selves, or frankly, we're exhausted. And you know what? It's Friday night, the meter's off, and I don't really feel like talking about my day job. And so I'm just going to be more adaptive in this at this cocktail party, like whatever. And so your adapted self is the self that says, all right, Ritu, I hear you. I'm going to push out of performing as much as I can after today. But I look at my authentic self and I can't be authentic 100% of the time because I want to keep my family. I don't want to go to jail, as you mentioned.
Well,
I want to keep my job.
yeah, I want to keep my job.
I want to keep my spouse.
What I like about what you're saying is this. You're offering something that is empowering and doable and realistic.
Yes.